So Our Quinceañera is a documentary that follows a real-town hero, and Gilbert's father is the principal of a small high school in Texas, and he hosts a free quinceañera for his students every year. He's been doing it for 4 years.
We're on year 5.
And next week is year 5.
Yeah, year 5, yeah.
And he started with just 6 girls, and the year we filmed it, he had almost 80 girls.
Almost 80 girls, yeah.
Yes.
So where in Texas?
It's in the Rio Grande Valley in a little town called San Benito, home of Freddie Fender.
Oh, awesome.
Claim to fame until this now, so yeah.
So for our audience at home, which is very vast and international, so a Quinceañera is like a bar mitzvah in the Jewish faith. So could you explain how important this is? Because I think that, you know, we're seeing in both cultures, in the Jewish culture and the Hispanic culture, that these quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs are like getting totally crazy with people spending thousands of dollars. But you have, you know, girls who may not have that, family might not have that type of money. And this is so important that your father, what he's doing, could you explain the importance of that?
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, you're totally correct. You know, in the Hispanic culture, the quinceañera is, you know, it stands for a 15th birthday for a young lady, and it basically is their coming out party as an adult to the world, right? So it's very similar to the Jewish, you know, faith and culture, right? And so they do become very expensive. I mean, they're very similar to like a wedding these days, right? And many people can't have them. And this gives these girls this opportunity to have their dream come true of having this, and not only the girls but their families and their mothers, and you know, and to get them see them do this. And it's in the film. It's really great. You get to see this transformation of the girls, you know, when they're getting it done and how excited they are when they didn't think they were ever going to have one. And it's really nice because it's a small community that has come together and everything is donated. So the girls spend no money whatsoever, and it's a really fantastic story.
What inspired your father to do this? Because I think this is very important.
Yeah, he's a lifelong educator, right? He's been a teacher or a principal of some sort for over 40 years, and he just loves his students. I mean, if you ever get to talk to him, he'll tell you how much he cares about education. He wants all his kids to go to college, and you know, he's very big on that. But he also wants them to feel a part of, you know, the world and everything they're in. And he just was asking some girls, you know, why, you know, are you not having a quinceañera? Because he would get invited to quite a few, but not nearly the amount that, you know, reflected his student body. And they said, well, we just can't afford it. And he's like, well, if you want one, I'll do one for you. And he just kind of started. And, you know, it's his hometown also. He was born and raised there. And so he knows everyone and just started, you know, asking for some donations. And it's turned in from, you know, 6 girls to over 80. And every girl gets a dress and a tiara, and just like Fanny's wearing today. And, you know, and it's really amazing. And people from all over have called wanting to contribute and donate. And I mean, there's a cosmetology school that does all the makeup and hair for the girls the day of the event, and a photographer that does a portrait for each one of them so they can remember it forever. So it's just this really great story that's kind of come to fruition, and hopefully continuing. And he hopes to also to inspire other towns and schools to kind of take it on and do the same thing.
So what was your dad's reaction when you guys approached him and said, hey, we want to bring some cameras and some microphones and follow you around?
He was actually, I mean, I don't think he believed it was going to happen at first, you know, and I said, Dad, you know, I'd love to do a documentary about this. And he's like, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. What do we need to do? Right. And basically I was like, well, I'll take care of everything, you know, just, you know, I'll have to talk to the school district and whatnot and go forward. But once he gets very into it. He gets very excited, and he loved every piece of it. And I think the kids did too. I mean, when we were shooting, they were very excited about the entire thing. So
how did you two hook up to make this film?
Go ahead.
Actually, so my husband has been friends with Gilbert for a long time, and they just went out to drinks, and he told me, honey, Gilbert wants to make a movie about, you know, a free community quinceañera. And as soon as I heard this term, like, let's do it. Yeah. And in 2 months, we were in San Benito filming. Yeah, so it was really fast.
Crowdfunded. We went from from talking about it really quickly to launching our crowdfunding to shooting. I mean, our crowdfunding finished and we shot a week after that. Yeah. So it was, you know, it all came together really quickly, and it's been a great experience.
So for people at home who do not know, what happens during a quinceañera? What is there any, you know, what happens? What is it like?
So every country is different. That's what's so beautiful about it, because I'm from Venezuela. Most of the girls in the movie are Mexican American. So every country has their version of a quince or quinceañera. But for the most part, you dress up in a gorgeous dress, and it's a really big party, and certain countries have a religious you have a mass, and then there's always a dance, and you have a court that you dance with, and you dance with your dad. That's very important.
Yeah, it's your father-daughter dance, which is kind of like your in the I guess the ancestral version of it and how it's developed, it's kind of like the father's last dance with his daughter before she goes off into adulthood, right? And so that's kind of great. And and there's a lot of different pieces of tradition. I mean, there's one, I know there's one tradition that a lot of have where like the girl gets her first pair of heels, at the event. Now some of this is a little different because it's a large community one. There's not the the church aspect of it or anything, because you can't do that with a school district, within a school district. But you do get a lot. I mean, you get the father-daughter dance. The girls are presented to everyone, and father, daughter of such and such, parents, right? And it's really great. It's an amazing little tradition that goes on.
So. What was it like showing up with cameras and a crew, and you have 80 fine young women with their families? I mean, what was this like?
It was really wonderful to get to know the girls and to be able to tell their stories. I have filmed with real people. I mean, we're all real people, but
No, we're fake. We're all CGI.
Some of us are fake, yeah.
But non-scripted material before, and it's really interesting to. At the beginning, they're really guarded and they're really nervous, but eventually they were so excited that you really get their essence and their family stories. Some are really tough. So it was great to have them share with us, their heritage, and especially the moms. The moms were so excited that their daughters were going to have a quinceañera, and then they would share with us their own quinceañera story. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think the entire town was kind of really excited to have us there, because we shot throughout town, and we did a couple of drone shots around town, which got some good footage. And city officials were like, "Oh no, we got to take you to this great historical building, right? You got to shoot here." And we're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll go get some shots," right? And the kids on campus were all excited.
Come to my house.
Yeah, and we had two crews at the school while we were shooting, so two teams, and they were running around with cameras, and we were getting kids in different aspects of their daily life, and it was a lot of fun. And for a small town like that, it's something pretty great and special.
So it's a true community effort.
It truly is.
Yeah, 100%.
The bakery donates the cakes. There's a laundry.
Dry cleaner.
A dry cleaner.
Dresses, presses all the dresses and cleans
Yeah.
them. There's a local seamstress that if any of the girls need alterations to their dress, she does it for free for the school. So
And the boys in the ROTC, they walk the girls, and there's a mariachi class in the school, and they played. So it was truly beautiful to see the community coming together.
So talk about how important this is to the young women, because this could give them a boost of confidence that could literally get them through the rest of their school year, that they might have had. So talk about how important this is.
So Mr. Galvan's focus really is college. So a lot of these kids think that college is impossible. So he uses this event to tell them, look, any dream can come true. If you work hard and with the support of the community, you can go to college. That is always his goal. He always talks about college. And he's using this event to really teach that to the girls. So that's what's beautiful about him.
Yeah, and I think they, the girls get inspired by it, right? I mean, it's, one of our things that we said is, it's kind of a way to show them that anything, any dream, any aspiration is possible, right? That you can do, if you want something, it's out there. There's a way to get it. You don't have to settle for, oh, I can't do this, or I won't have it, or nothing will happen. And I think when you show kids and people in general one time that there is, there's something out there that they could get they didn't think they could, then that pushes them to go after other things that maybe they never thought they could be or have, right? And so
could you talk a little bit about the emotions of filming your subjects? Because I would imagine that, especially with these young girls, this is really the first time they've been dressed up, that their hair has been done professionally, their makeup has been done, and talk about how emotional this is for the students, but how good it is for them to feel special, to feel that they are valued, and that it makes them feel like a real woman, which they should feel.
We had one that was really tomboyish.
Yeah.
She'd never ever wear a dress in her entire life.
Wow.
And she was like, well, I'm just doing it for my friends. But you see her, like, she had the best time. She really became this woman, and, you know, she had this gorgeous gown, and she was so excited. She was the most excited of them all. And then her parents were, at the end, you know, she had never danced with her father because she would never wear a dress or anything like that. So to them, it was like, wow, you don't understand what this means to us. And to the little girl, I mean, she's like, I'll never wear a dress again. But at least she tried it, you know? So to us, that was...
And her mom, I mean, her mom comes to tears, like, I didn't think I'd ever see this, right? And I'm so excited to see them like this. And it was really great. I mean, a lot of the girls, you know, we had one, you know, young lady that we featured that she was like, oh, I didn't really want one, you know, whatnot. But her mom, when she found out the school was doing it, convinced her to do it. And towards the end of the movie, she just says how grateful she was that she did it, and so excited that she did, because she got to experience with her mom and her grandmother and her sisters, and that's another thing. It's not just a school dance, right? So each family of one of the quinceañeras gets a table at the event, right? Mm-hmm. So their loved ones get to be there with them and celebrate it as if it was their own, but they're celebrating with all of the other young ladies in town at the same time. So it's kind of this great hybrid quinceañera that really, you know, it brings out a lot in the community and each individual family and each individual girl.
So you touched on a little bit about earlier is that some of the girls did not even want to have one. Are we finding that in the Latino Hispanic community, that there are some, is that a trend where young people are like, oh, it's kind of old school?
Well, I think all the girls, the majority of them want one. But it's a financial situation. Oh, I don't really want one. Or they'll say, well, maybe I'll have a sweet 16. So they're really trying to see, okay, can I do both, or do I have to choose? So that's something we explore in the film as well, that you can be an American and you can also be proud of your culture, your heritage. But I think it's getting bigger and bigger, actually. Yeah. I think more girls want it. More Latina girls are choosing a quinceañera over a sweet 16 now.
And I also think, you know, a lot of times, you know, a young person, because they know that there's a financial stress on their family, will just try to say like, oh, I didn't actually want one, when deep down they probably did, you know, and it's one of these things. So when there's that great opportunity to actually have it, then you really see like, oh my God, this really meant so much to me. I'm so excited about it. And it's really, I mean, it's a really great feeling to see it. I mean, it was a great feeling to shoot it. And then it was an even better feeling when we got to see it on, you know, back playing to us. So it was great.
Speaking of shooting it, I mean, 80 subjects plus their family, your father, the townspeople, could be easily 1,000 subjects. Tell me about the editing, what it was like to go into the editing room, and how difficult was it to say, this has got to come in, but we can't, you know, use this?
Well, I had a casting before we got there, so I had my lead girls, because I couldn't shoot 80 girls in 10 days. So we chose our main girls, and then when we were there, we met 2 more.
Yeah, it worked out really well for the film. So
yeah, so when we filmed the main girls and we followed their stories, and some, of course, didn't make it into the cut because we didn't have enough meat there.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we just wanted to have an emotional, you know, it is a film, so it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that's how we did it. We follow 5 girls and their families, and then we had like supporting roles along the way. But we did have to have two units, a unit A and a unit B, because it was just too much to capture everything going on at the same time.
You know, and the great thing was we were actually really in sync when it came down to, you know, putting the movie together. You know, Fanny would get the first, you know, being the director, she'd have the first cut with our editor, and then when I would take a look, I'd be like, oh, I have some notes, and she's like, oh, I'm already on that. I feel the exact same way. And so for us, that was really great that it actually just worked. The symbiosis there worked really well, and you know, we had a really smooth editing process together.
We also had found the best editor. She's
really did,
and she's Hispanic, Carla Roda, and she works really fast, and she knows the culture, and she was just every day sending us footage. I mean, I sat with her, but it was really actually very smooth. We are very pleased with the movie that we made. We think it's going to really inspire other communities and people who don't know our culture. They're going to learn a lot.
So is there any other educator in the States that does what your dad does?
Not when we shot it. Recently, he just found out that there's a school in Houston, which is a huge district, that's trying to replicate it right now. And then another town near him, here in San Diego, there's a neighboring town called Brownsville, Texas, and they've got 6 high schools, and they actually are calling my dad, asking him if he can kind of guide them to get one started. And we know that there's other towns in South Texas that are also trying to find a way to do it and replicate it. And for my dad, he's actually very proud of that, and so am I for him. He's like, well, that's what I want. I want everyone to have it, because he currently gets kids, families from other school districts that ask him if he can participate, if they can, but he can't, because, it's a school district thing and he can't really bring in kids from others. So the fact that he would love it to spread as much as possible, and for, towns and cities all over America to start doing this, these type of things for their kids, and just really looking at your community and saying, hey, what is it these kids want or need, and how can we provide it? Because as a community, you can do it, so.
As a son of your father, your dad's an educator. He's living, being an educator alone, you're leaving a legacy because you are touching students' lives. But how does your family feel that he's doing this 2 times, 3 times, 4 times over by having this special program where he's not only giving back to the students, but keeping the Latino Hispanic tradition alive in a world where we kind of don't like tradition, or we kind of, forget about it, or it's too bothersome or too hard? What does that mean to you as a son, but also too as a family member?
Yeah, I mean, it means the world to me, right? I mean, my dad's my hero, right? And so I've always thought, he has left the greatest legacy already on his own. But for me, I grew up, speaking English first, but I still always recognize my heritage and my culture and where I came from, and I love to celebrate as much as possible, and I think my siblings, myself, all of us do, and that's a tribute to my dad and my mom, right? Because together they've kind of instilled in us, oh, you can be American and you can do all these things, but you should never forget where you came from, and it's really important in this world. But then when making the movie, I also thought, my dad's done so many great things in the world, it'd be great to also leave a little something that everyone can always see for him and for the future, something great he's done on top of all the other things he's done, right? And so, I mean, if you could count, I couldn't count the amount of stories of kids that he's taught or been a principal of at their school, and he's inspired them, and they've come back years later and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Galvan, because of you, I became a doctor, or I did this, or I did that. And it's, it's very proud, always proud of it. It's
I find that working in education, you got to be careful about religion and this and that, but it seems like your dad has found the perfect formula of preserving a culture and a tradition, but also to putting it into an educational setting, which I think is very special and you can't do often. I think it's a gift.
I agree 100%. I mean, he is a magician, and it's pretty amazing the kind of things he comes up with and the way he does it. And, he's been, like I said, he's been an educator for a long time and at different levels in different places. And he knows what he can and can't do, and he finds a way to work around the limitations that are sometimes put on you in public education to make sure that his students get as much as they can out of their experience when they're with him. So,
and we should also say it's not just his dad, it's all the teachers in that school come together to just really they're committed to making these girls feel like a princess for a day, and it's very magical to be there.
Fanny, how did this film help you grow as a person? I bet you've learned a lot. Mm-hmm. You kind of lived in these kids' lives. How did it impact you personally, and how did you grow as a person by doing this documentary?
For me, it's always been a belief. I believe to my core that when we come together, magical things happen, and I've experienced that over the years in my career. But to actually see an entire community come together and make this beautiful thing for the girls, it just really reaffirmed in me, listen, there's more good than bad in this world, and we just have to celebrate it.
So share a little bit about your own quinceañera. When you think about your quinceañera, what makes you smile? What are some of the good memories from yours?
My kids?
Your quinceañera.
Oh,
When
my
you-
quinceañera. Oh, I was one of those rebel ones. So my parents gave me a choice. You want a trip or a quinceañera? And I said, oh, a trip. But then I started going to all my friends' quinces, and I was like, I went to my mom and said, I do want one. But by then it was so late. So they threw this huge party at my house, and so many people came, and I didn't want to wear a dress, so I wore pants and this cool little top. But you know what? I am so glad I changed my mind, because the whole family came together. I did get to dance. I still got my trip. But it was a beautiful experience for me, even though it wasn't traditional. But I did feel like I would have missed out if I didn't have one.
So what's next for the film? You guys are traveling the film festival circuit. Well, what's next for it?
This is our world premiere. We just finished the movie, so we'll see what's next. We're talking with some distributors. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully everyone will get to see it at some point.
Where do you hope that people learn from this film? Do you hope that other people replicate your father's program?
To inspire other communities to do the same thing, right? To really look at it and the quinceañera would be amazing all over the place, right? I would love to hear that there's community quinceañeras all over, the U.S., right? But not only the quinceañera, also other programs and things you can do, and just really looking at, the kids in your community, because the kids are the future, right? And so how do we inspire them and find ways to really get them the things that they're looking for in life and in their education, and help them, aspire to be better, do better things.
And to me, my goal really is to show Latinos in the U.S. in a positive light, because there's a lot of negativity right now around our culture. So I just hope that people watch this movie and really see that we are American too, and we have a lot to give to this country, and that it's okay to still celebrate your heritage, and you can still be 100% American.
And I think that that's my hope for the film too, because I hope that Hispanic and Latino families will see this and hopefully invite their white, their black, their Asian friends to these quinceañeras, because I think that, this is what makes America great, is all these cultures and the food and the traditions that come together. It makes us what's individual, and which I really like about this film. It shows that having these quinceañeras, you are holding down to the traditions of the culture, but you also, too, you're still celebrating it wherever you are, whether you're in the North Pole or South Texas or, 100%. In Hawaii or whatever. So thank you so much for bringing this to the film festival. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much.